Well, thank you all for braving the elements and coming here. You got spunk, as was said famously one time. You've got spunk, and you show the resilience that our beloved Red Sox have shown us all these decades. So welcome and thank you. And I would like to thank particularly Kevin and Sarah for giving me the opportunity to present this little talk to you. It means so much to me and the people who know about the history of the way these books were created. And we're going to share that with you. So this is my story that I'm going to share with you today. Okay, yeah. Okay. So, how does someone who was born and bred in Brooklyn, New York, become a fanatical to the max Red Sox baseball fan? Well, I'm that someone, and I'm going to share with you the journey of how I got from there to here. So, I first became involved and interested in baseball through my father, which is typical for a lot of families. My father was, we were in Brooklyn, New York, but he was a New York Giants fan, which was, we didn't broadcast that too often because we were surrounded by Brooklyn Dodger fans because that's what it was. I mean, the Dodgers. And then there was a third New York baseball team with the Yankees, the Yankees. And they were in the Bronx. So, but we followed those teams. And in 1951, I guess I was about 9 or so, they had an event, a baseball event in New York that was almost as thrilling, but not quite, as our events that came up later. Bobby Thompson, right, you know it. The Dodgers and the Giants were in fierce competition all the time with each other because they were in the National League. The Yankees were in the American League. So with the National League, they're all, like brothers fighting each other. But so they were at the end, it was nip and tuck all the way, and it looked as though the Dodgers were going to win. And so then comes Bobby Thompson, and he hits a home run, a walk-off home run for the Giants, and they won then the pennant. They went on to lose to the Yankees in the World Series. Everybody lost to the Yankees. In those days, the 50s and 60s, the Yankees won every year. Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, all those, and back to Joe DiMaggio and those. So that was the start of it. And I guess from there, we just stayed watching the games all the time. We had first gotten our television, so we would watch them. But most of the games were during the day in those times. It wasn't at night so much. But on the weekends, certainly, my father and I would be watching those games. My sisters didn't care for too much. They were playing with the dolls, but I was playing with baseball. So then in 1957 was shocking to everyone in New York. The Dodgers and the Giants moved to California, and they left. They left. The Yankees stayed, but they left, and so that was that. And so I became a New York Mets fan. And it wasn't quite as strong a fan as I had been for the Giants, but I became a Mets fan, and later on, we'll find out why the Mets broke my heart. Okay, so then time goes on, and in 1974, I married and moved to Sewanee, Tennessee. From Brooklyn to Sewanee, Tennessee. It didn't go too well. I thought I was living in Gone with the Wind, and they thought I was Rhoda from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. But they really were very nice people. And it was a very rural area, the University of the South. It's a very nice university, beautiful. They have it all. Buildings look like Oxford. But so rural, I just had trouble. So my husband, Stephen, and at that time, then we had our 2 children, Mark and Amy, and he knew how much I really wanted to leave there. And thankfully, he got he's a professor of theology, of philosophy and theology. He got an assignment and a position at Boston College. I was thrilled. I always loved Boston. I don't know why. From an early age, I always thought that would be a place I would like to live in. In fact, one of the first trips I took with my sisters when I got a car and learned to drive was to take a drive up to Boston. And we stopped to have lunch. My sister Marguerite is here. I don't know if you remember this. We went in to have lunch. Honestly, I couldn't understand one thing the woman said. The accent was, I could not understand. And we had the Brooklyn accent, so, it was like two foreign countries. But so we found out that we were going to be moving in 1979 up to Boston. So I was thrilled. So this is 1978. And in those days, there's no baseball really in Tennessee. But that year of 1978, the networks broadcast the playoff game. And there's the famous playoff game, all of you Red Sox fans know what it is, between the Red Sox and the Yankees. And it looked as though we, the Red Sox, were going to win because we had been winning, and then the Yankees caught up. And then we get to the playoff, and we all remember, what was his name? Bucky Dent hits the home run that crushed the Red Sox, and we lost. That was the first time, now I'm still in Tennessee at this point, but the first time I guess I had heard the term, the curse of the Bambino. I never knew what that was. And the Bambino was Babe Ruth. And the curse apparently happened because when the Red Sox management sold Babe Ruth started off as the Red Sox player. They sold him to the Yankees just for money purposes, apparently financial reasons. And so they said that he was going to curse, the Bambino was going to curse the Red Sox ever since. And it seemed like it was going to happen, too. So we moved to Wellesley in 1979, and now I'm already hooked from watching that playoff game in 78. I'm hooked with the Red Sox. I started watching every game, and I mean every game, even the games when they were on the West Coast, like I did this past week. How many watched the games this past week, right? When you're a fan, it doesn't matter. You don't need to sleep, right? You just have to root for them. So I was really very much taken with the team. I loved it. I loved baseball, and everything was going along swimmingly. Our children were growing. Stephen was established in his position, and I had been my career was as a teacher. I had been a first grade teacher, and my last year of teaching I spent in Germany teaching for the overseas dependent schools in a place called Neubrücke, Germany, which was a very nice experience for me. My sister visited me there. We traveled that summer. And so when I came back from Germany, I didn't go back to teaching. I got involved in educational publishing, writing and instructional materials, editing them, and so forth. And so that was my career. So when we moved to Tennessee, I was able to continue my freelance work of writing and editing educational materials. And then when we moved up here to Wellesley, I decided I was going to try to start my own little company where we would write and edit instructional materials for major publishers, not publishing ourselves, but for publishers such as Macmillan and Scholastic and the famous Houghton Mifflin publishing house here in Boston. And so we had a nice, tidy little life, We all in our careers, the kids were growing, and the Red Sox, they were still losing, but, it was still fine. So we get to 1986. Now we're on our way to breaking the curse. We were supposed to win in 1986. We got as far as the World Series. Who remembers what happened? Okay, we were this close. A simple thing, a ground ball went through the legs of Bill Buckner, and we lost that game, and we lost the series. Now, you had to believe the curse was really working. That had to be a curse. So that was 1986. It was the Mets. The Mets had beaten us there. Okay, we didn't give up hope. We kept on going, kept on trying. Now we're taking us to 2004. Again, we're in a playoff series with the dreaded Yankees. We're down to our last outs. How many of you remember that? I mean, all of you who are fans. Okay, everything stopped in the city, in our families, everything. Everything stopped except for those games. We sat in the same chairs so that we would bring luck to the team. We probably ate the same foods. We did everything we could to make it happen that we might win this year. And the tension was tremendous. I've never experienced anything like it, in a positive sense anyway. So we're there. We're down to our last outs against the Yankees. And our Bambino, Big Papi, David Ortiz, comes up in the late innings and hits the home run that made us win the pennant, and then we moved on to the World Series and won the World Series in 2004 against the St. Louis Cardinals. After 86 years, 2004, after 86 years, we finally won that World Series. And I remember reading that certainly the curse of the Bambino was broken, but people have written that it was the greatest comeback in sports history, not even in baseball, because we were down by so many. I think you had to win 4 games to get to the last stage, and the Yankees had 3, and they were about to win the 4th, and that would have been it. And I remember being with my daughter at a play in Boston. I can't even remember the name of the play. No one was paying attention to what was on the thing. Everybody had their phones or whatever listening, and then we found out that they went and a cheer went up, and it was just a universal feeling in the city. I've never seen anything quite like that, to grab that kind of emotion and joy that we had. So we were World Series champions, and it felt so good. So I was beyond myself. I was we were all drained. I mean, after I got some energy back, I said, we have to do something to celebrate. Now, that year, and a few years later, Jordan's Furniture, I don't know if you remember, they would have a promotion every summer that if the Red Sox would win, you'd get something, like a free something. It was easy for them to do that because no one ever won, so no one ever got anything. But that year, we won, and I remember I got a free mattress because I had done that. So what are we going to do? So in my company, and there are a couple of my former employees here, they can attest to this. They knew of my mania about the Red Sox, so I had told them beforehand, if the Red Sox win, just like Jordan's, if the Red Sox win, you're all going to have the day off. The Red Sox won, and they all had the day off. We had a champagne toast in the office. I think I had people actually, they could go to the parade too afterwards when that took place. And so that was what we had done. And we're just on such a high, but I still felt there was something I wanted to do. I wanted to capture that moment, that feeling, that sense of pride that we had universally in this city for our team. A metaphor for life, I understand that. But it felt so strong. It felt so strong. So I said, I know, I'm in the business of, educational children's materials. I think we need a book. We need a children's book. And I remember the poem, maybe some of you remember Casey at the Bat. Okay. And that one has, that poem, I don't have it with me, but the last line, it ends sadly because the mighty Casey struck out. So it was an unhappy ending. But we had a happy ending. So I said, okay, how do I do this? So I said, okay, Casey at the bat. And there was a particular editor in my company who, she had never written a book before, but I had recognized her talent and brilliance. And I went to her and I said, Melinda Boroson is the author of that book, of the other book as well. I said, I want to capture this for children. I want to do this so that they'll have a memento of that and a record in a way of that feeling that we had in 2004. So I said, have you ever heard of Casey at the Bat? I'm not sure that she had or not. But 2 weeks later, she came back with the text for the book. Brilliant, wonderful. And then I had our design director find an illustrator who could illustrate the book as well. And here's that book. I was going to do this later, but I think I'm going to see if with your patience, I'd just like to read it to you, and you understand why. Well, we sold we sold about 45 to 50,000 copies of this book. We gave a lot of them away, and it was very well received. I'm just going to read it to you. It won't take very long, but you try to understand the emotion that we had. It was back in 1918 when great-grandpa was a boy, when baseball filled his head with dreams and filled his heart with joy. In Boston, folks would hurry down to Fenway Park to see their hometown team, the Red Sox, play the game triumphantly. 4 splendid times they led the league with 4 World Series wins. That year, the Red Sox won a 5th. Here's where the myth begins. The owner tried to clear some debts, if what they say is the truth, and to the Yankees of New York, he sold away Babe Ruth. It seemed their luck was gone as soon as Babe was off the team, and then the thrill of championship was nothing but a dream. As years went by, the Red Sox fared no better, only worse, till people started thinking that there had to be a curse. And as for the World Series, well, the Red Sox just seemed stuck. The curse of the Bambinos, what they call that rotten luck. It seemed they'd never win, and sure enough, though they came near, the Sox cleared out their lockers deep in sorrow every year. That heartache wove through years and years, 3 generations long. In 46 or 86, it played the same sad song. So close, the team could glimpse the prize right there beyond their reach, but every chance would slip away like waves along a beach. Then came 2004. The Sox were in the wild card spot. The challenge lay before them. Every game would be hard fought. But lo, a sweep of Anaheim. The Sox could still achieve. And fans began to whisper, then to thunder, we believe. Oh, what a team it was that year. A ragtag bunch of guys with scruffy beards and shaggy hair and courage in their eyes. Could Johnny, Kurt, and Pedro, Papi, Manny, Tim, and Trot, could Derek, Mark, and Jason do what other teams had not? Who would they face? The Yankees for the ALCS crown. The Sox would do their best to bring the house that Ruth built down. But nothing clicked that night. But nothing clicked night after night. They couldn't blame the ump. And 1, 2, 3, they lost 3 games. The Sox were in a slump. Game 4. The night was chilly as the Red Sox took the field. The series stood at 0-3, but Boston did not yield. 3 outs and it would all be lost. Then Roberts stole a base. Through inning 12, they persevered. The Sox stayed in the race. Each night the same. They had to win, their backs against the wall. And Red Sox Nation held its breath for every strike and ball. Game 5 stretched on into the night. The 14th inning came. At last, on Papi's single, Damon scored to win the game. And so, Game 6 back in New York, the Red Sox turned to Kurt. He faltered in his first time out, his right foot badly hurt. The pitching would decide the game as Schilling took the mound, his ankle held with stitches and with bandage tightly wound. For 7 brilliant innings, Schilling pitched through stabbing pain. He knew the Sox had much to lose and everything to gain. Kurt's courage made the difference. Bellhorn's homer made the score. The Red Sox had accomplished what no team had done before. The time had come to face the past and drive away Babe's ghost. Sox fans could barely dare to dream of what they wanted most. No curse of 86 long years would make their spirits fade. Game 7 was the crossroads, time for history to be made. First inning, Poppy gripped the bat and saw the ball in flight, then slugged it with a mighty crack and sailed it out of sight. A home run! And the crowd grew still. The Yankee fans were sore, but back in Boston, Red Sox Nation echoed with a roar. A roar that grew and grew as that momentous night wore on. The Red Sox won it, 10-3. Was Babe's ghost really gone? A comeback for the ages, and a victory oh so sweet. But the story wasn't over. There was destiny to meet, the series. The World Series was the prize they had to take to end the curse that through the years caused Boston's heart to break. 3 generations' loyalty had been put to the test. Could this year be the one that would make up for all the rest? St. Louis was the team to beat back home at Fenway Park. Game 1 of the World Series on a night cold, damp, and dark. Though Sox fans had to clutch their hearts with every Cardinal run, what matters was the outcome, and the Red Sox had Game 1. Kurt Schilling proved his fortitude with every pitch he threw, and Embry, Folk, and Timlin finished up to take Game 2. Game 3 moved to St. Louis. Pedro had his chance to soar. He owned the game. The Sox prevailed. The next step was Game 4. Was Babe's curse really over? Were they just one game away? The fans were tired and nervous all around Boston on that day. October 27th, for 10 days they had no sleep. They thought they might be dreaming. Could there really be a sweep? Oh, somewhere men are sighing. This is where I choke up. Oh, somewhere men are sighing, or they're dabbing at a tear. And moms are tucking in their kids with wait until next year. And somewhere fans are mournful as October shadows fall. But they're filled with joy in Boston because the Red Sox won it all. That was something. And so after all of those years, and this is the book that was published. After all of those years, first starting off when they did World Series, they would win them, and then all those years without it. And then we won 4 World Series in the beginning of the 21st century. The only team. We won 4 World Series. No one has won 4 World Series in this century yet, except us. Maybe not this year again, but, we'll see. So, and the illustrations in that book are so good. There's one that I just love. It's a spread, and it shows a family sitting on the couch, all with grasped hands, looking at the TV, holding their breaths during those games, to see if they were going to actually win or not. And so here we are. So I was happy. I thought the books and people, we designed it to be a children's book, but lots of people were buying them for their fathers or grandfathers who had lived through all of those years without anything to celebrate like this. And so they would buy those books and for all ages. And it still is, I think, a book for all ages. Even I think you would enjoy it, and you would enjoy it even more when you see the illustrations. But I never planned to publish another book. It's a very costly thing to do when you add up all the printing costs and the cost of the illustration, all of that. It's very costly. But fast forward to 2013. What happened? The Boston Marathon. and how that brought Boston to its knees. And again, that whole feeling of civic pride and angst and all those. I mean, as I said it before, it's a metaphor for life. We go through these things personally, but you also go through them sometimes as a community. And being together helps you to deal with all of that. So here we were, 2013, the Boston Marathon. And the Red Sox are somehow, we were in last place, first of all. We were in last place. But then our Bambino, Big Papi, there's a famous little speech that he gave in the dugout. And he started it off by saying, "This is our blank, blank city," and fired them up. And what happened? We went from last place to winning the World Series. Winning the World Series from last place, really on the strength of the emotion and the resilience and the just, we're never going to give up. We're just going to keep trying. And then we won that one. So again, I said to myself and my staff, we have to capture this moment. We have to memorialize this in some way so that year of 2013 isn't only a negative memory for us, but it also is a positive one. And so I went to Melinda again and Gary Phillips, the illustrator, and asked them to put together a book about that. And we sanitized the title a little bit. We just call it "This is Our City." How the 2013 Red Sox kept Boston strong. I won't read this one, but again, it's wonderfully done, and it brings that all back to it. And in fact, it's been featured in so many places, but I think you would enjoy that as well. All right, so let's see, what else did I want to tell you about that? So this is how those books came to be. And I have a special treat for you today. The author is here, Melinda Boroson, who is brilliant. She's as brilliant as she is humble. And she's going to share some of her experiences and reminiscences with you. And she will be willing to sign some books later if you'd like to. Okay, Melinda.
Hi, thanks. Wouldn't you follow her anywhere? That's what I can't hear. It's okay, here we go again. I was inspired all over again because when Marie gets enthusiastic and she asks you to do something, you're gonna do it. So I'm ready to write a new book, but there is nothing to write about yet. So Marie told you how she was inspired to make this book and how I got involved and how the book came to be. But then it was a lot of work and it took about 9-10 months. And then in May of 2005, the book was published and we got boxes from shipment. But Marie didn't mention that she had to start a whole publishing company just to publish this book because her business was not publishing. Her business was content, making content for other people. So she established a new company, but we, mostly Marie, but I'll say we because there was a little group of people doing it, we had no marketing. We didn't know how to get books out in front of people. We were thinking we'll just drive to the supermarket and open the trunk of the car and say, "Do you want a book?" Which I did a few times. But we learned. So Marie got a list. She sent out postcards to a lot of, a big mailing list. And we sent out solicitations for testimonials to the whole Red Sox clubhouse, to Stephen King because he's a super fan, to Senator Kennedy, to all kinds of people, to Jordan Furniture because we thought we're perfect for you. And some of them came back with a positive response. We got things from the players, from Stephen King. We got a blurb. It's on the back of the book. Jordan Furniture didn't follow up with us. Senator Kennedy sent a letter and said, oh, congratulations, I cannot endorse your book for whatever political reasons. And we sent a press release out to local press. So interviews started happening because, they like a local story. So sometimes it was both of us, sometimes it was just me with the book. I was on, I think, Channel 5, I was on Channel 7, Channel 38, whatever that was at the time. We were in the Globe. I have a bunch of copies of our press. So Marie was in I think this is Westport. Is that Connecticut? Yeah, Rhode Island. We were in the Globe, we were in the Herald, so we have our, of course, I was in the Needham Times. And of course, I keep all these, my scrapbook of happy memories. But there were there was more than three, but I'll tell you about three serendipitous things that happened that we didn't make them happen, but they happened. The first and the biggest one was a day in December of 2005, a friend of mine called me and said, "You're in People magazine." And I said, "What?" I had no idea. And she told me the page, which I didn't remember, I don't remember now. So we were in People magazine. This is Brad Pitt on the cover. It's December of 2005. And Ben Affleck had his first child. And there's the book. I'll leave this out so you can see it. There's the book. As someone gave it to him as a gift for his Boston Red Sox baby. And it was in the spread of People magazine. And we were totally taken by surprise, and we didn't know what to, we didn't know what to do, because it's like, well, how can we take advantage of this? We didn't really know what. So our sales went up, that's clear. I then sent a letter to Ben Affleck's publicist. I thought we could make more of it. He didn't respond. But we finally figured out how it happened. Another employee of Marie's in her real company went to a bar that he knew, a friend of Ben's, blah, 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 and he took the book to the bar, and that bartender sent it to Ben. How it got into People, I don't know, but that was an excellent, lucky. And then the way media feeds on itself, we were then, you can't see anything here, but we were then in the names section of the Globe that week talking about how we were in People magazine. So the book came out in the spring of 2005, but it sort of had a long life. And as Marie said, it sold tens of thousands of copies over the next 3 or 4 years, probably was the biggest part. We were just informed. I don't believe we solicited it. The book was named the Mass Teachers Association Red Sox Reading Game Book of the Year. And that involved Jason Veritek, who always was associated with the Red Sox Reading Game for the mass teachers. Jason Veritek reading the book on the cover of the mass teachers. Then there was a poster, a full-size poster, but I brought this reproduction. So there's our book on the poster that appeared in libraries, I think, and schools. And then as a result of that, I appeared at a school in Boston with an actor whom I was not familiar with, but he was the draw. His name was Eric Close. Does anybody know him? He was on a show in that period of time. Whatever, this is my scrapbook, and this is me and Eric Close, whom I don't think his career has kept up. And then a really cool thing that I don't know how it came to be, but the Perkins School for the Blind in Newton, or I don't know, is it considered Newton? Wait, I'll find my notes. I think it's in this one. Yeah, they were having Fenway at Perkins Day, and they found out about the book, and they invited a bunch of people. It says other authors of Red Sox books, and Johnny Pesky was there. So I went to the Perkins School for an event that was just like a celebration of the Red Sox. And I had my picture taken with two, I guess it was after 2007. So there were 2 World Series trophies to have your picture taken with, which was exciting. And then they presented me with a Braille edition of the book. I'll put that out there so you can see it too. So there's the cover, but then the rest of it is in Braille. Yeah, it's so unique and special to me. Yeah, and it's in their library at Perkins. So let's see, those are the 3 things I wanted to highlight. We also appeared, Marie and I, sitting at a table, signing books at the souvenir store near Fenway. And I don't know if you noticed recently, the owner of the souvenir store, Arthur, what's his name? I have it written down, Arthur D'Angelo, right, thank you, who owned it. He died just about a month ago, and there was an obit in the Globe. But I remember being at the store, and he was very gregarious. And so he was welcoming to us, and he had been given a Red Sox ring by the team for being such an important part of after 2004. And as it said in the obituary, I recognize this tidbit, he loved to let people try it on. And I tried on the Red Sox, the big, heavy Red Sox championship ring, because he offered it to me that day. So that was also a fun memory. What else did we talk about, Marie? Let's see. I just made notes of all the places we appeared. Oh, then the second book in 2013 also had a little appearance in People magazine online. So it's not a magazine I can hold up, but I got a screenshot. They had a digital version, and on Father's Day of whatever year makes sense, 2014, we were, This Is Our City was a pick for Father's Day gift. So that was another special exposure. My memories are just, what a fantastic experience, what a fantastic adventure that Marie offered up to me on a platter. So it was great. Yes.
So what's next?
Yeah. I'm not really a sports person, which is the funny irony. I was definitely a devoted fan in 2004. And I knew what I was writing about, but it was more about the emotion, like Marie was saying. It was the feeling in Boston, the feeling that you had to stay up until whatever o'clock for the 14th inning. Marie's enthusiasm in the office. I didn't know I was going to be writing a book about it, but I was just like so taken up with everything that Marie talked about. So it was just a great opportunity. I'd always wanted to write a book. I didn't know it was going to be about the Red Sox. So, yeah, are there any other questions for me? There's lots of anecdotes about what we did those several years. It was great fun. And a lot of work. So I'll leave these things out for you to look at while you're getting a book later. Okay? Okay, thank you.
We got several testimonials from people, and probably the one that might be most impressive was from Stephen King. He said, "This is a nice little book." Because you know that he's a big fan, right? And I do have one anecdote I'd like to share with you. Jim Rice also gives a testimony, and he's quoted on the back of the book. And apparently, he liked the book very much because I got a call from his wife, and she said, our daughter is getting married in June, whenever it was, and we would like to give a copy of the book as a wedding favor at the wedding. And we want 200 copies. So, okay. So himself comes to our office, to pick up the books, Jim Rice. He walked in the door, and of course I was melting, I said, "Jim, I have to give you a hug." and he hugged me. It was like hugging a Rodin statue. He's so strong. I mean, this is just, he was still already in his 50s probably, strong. And he was so nice, and they got the books, and they distributed them to the guests there. So, yeah, so that's the story. Are there any other questions that you might have of Melinda or me? Yeah.
Who was your favorite Red Sox player that you ever met? Favorite Red Sox player?
Who's my favorite
That you've met.
that I've met in person? Well, it would have to be Jim Rice, because he's the only one I've ever met in person. But I think it would have to be Poppy. Big Poppy, David Ortiz would be my favorite player. Not only for his skill, but for his leadership and for his inspiration, and his resilience. But it's like, who's your favorite child? I love them all, love them all. So, okay, so Melinda's very happy to sign a copy of you can get a copy if you like, and dedicate them to whoever you like. And so this is my story. This is my story about the books. My publishing days are over, but I'm proud of the little contributions that we've made in the history of the Red Sox and the history of this city, that I've grown to love very much, both of those things. And so thanks again for coming, and you show the same resilience as the team, and I won't ever forget that. And so thanks for coming, and come and get a book. And in red.
The times never seem so good. I've been inclined to believe there never was, but now I look at the night, and it don't seem so lonely. We fill it up with only two. And when I hurt, hurting runs off my shoulders. How can I hurt when holding you? One touching one.